Hey guys, hope everyone is having a safe and healthy and happy spring break. This video is going to be about currency grading, and I feel like I have some good examples here of higher grades and kind of what to look for. Now, I like to think that I specialize in currency, and I love the fancy serial numbers and everything, which you can see that in other videos. And the very first video I ever did, these are some of the notes you saw on there. Now let's actually look at the grades and talk about basically why they got the grade they did. Now, first of all, just kind of all these, if you look, the grades are 63, 64, 65, and 67. And just the bills themselves, they are all uncirculated, hence the 60s in the grades. And three of the four of them do have the courtesy autograph. And then they are all radar notes. If you look, serial number reads the same forward as it does backward. Now let's talk about the grades in general. Now, up here with the 63, this is obvious why it got a 63. It is uncirculated. It's a very nice note. Obviously still crispy and everything. But look at the margins. If you look at, think of north and south here, look at the top and bottom margins. The top margin itself is really honestly triple the size of the bottom margin. And same with your east and west. It's about double the size there on your right and left. That in itself is why this uncirculated note got a 63. It's a common misconception, I think, that, coins and currency alike, when they come hot off the press, they're perfect. And they're perfect until someone touches them. That is not always the case. With these, also, you have paper quality, which that's what the EPQ stands for, exceptional paper quality. Sometimes the paper, not to call it crap or anything, but sometimes the paper is not as dense or not as well done as it is on other notes. You can find 63s that are not exceptional paper quality. Another thing is the embossing. If you look at this note, you can see, and most of the newer bills are embossed really well, but you can see all the little details within the note, see all the lines. It's nice and dark, and this is embossed very well. So they didn't deduct it for that. This is simply margins. And if I flip it over and you check out the back, you can see where the ink bled through. That didn't affect anything. But look at the size of the margin up top compared to the bottom. So it's huge. The note doesn't look right, honestly. Its margins are so large. Now let's go down here to the 64. 64, that margin at the bottom is smaller than the margin up top. But if you look at your right and left, your east and west, those margins line up very well. Hence the 1 point higher. And it is those little things that make these notes, that much of a difference in grade. Now, if we were talking, say we were talking $5 educational notes, the difference between a 63 and a 64 monetarily could be $500 or $600. There is a big difference. Obviously, with these relatively new fives, it doesn't affect the value a whole lot. But those are little things you need to look for when you're trying to quickly grade a note, especially uncirculated notes. Look at the margins first. Other things you can look for are the seals, which this has, the very dark green seal right here. Sometimes the seals are shifted left, right, up, down, and they don't exactly match up in the middle of the 5. Same right here on the left side, where it has the Federal Reserve System stamp. Sometimes that is shifted up or down. On the 65, if you notice, 65, this is where you get a little of the discrepancy. Now, Got my 64 here. If you put the two together and compare the margins, okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The 64 has the top and bottom margin that are different, but the ones on the left and right seem to be the same. On the 65, you've got two oversized margins on the top and on the left that don't match up. Why this one got a 65 and this one got a 64, I have no idea. Okay, they're both still obviously uncirculated. I will tell you that this one right here, the 65, I sent in at a different time than I did the 64. And if you look at the tops where the PMG is, they've actually, the darker green one right here on the 65, they changed it in between the time that I sent the 64 and the 65 in. So I could have just simply had a different guy look at this. So I guess I'll never know. Now let's look at the 67. The 67, this is actually the one of the highest notes that I have in my collection grade-wise. To get a note above a 67, you can go online and you can find, newer common bills that are graded, 68, 69, which this isn't super rare. To get a 67, back for like your silver certificates and stuff, that's something to look for. Those are much tougher to find. And if you could ever find one on large size notes, that would be kind of the find of a lifetime. If you look right here on the 67, the margins work out really, really well. The seals themselves line up really well. I can put the 63 right here. Let me move some stuff around. You can compare the 63 and the 67. Obviously, one has the courtesy autograph. That doesn't affect anything grade-wise. But you can see the margin difference and just how much better the 67 looks than the 63. Let me flip them both over. Really perfect margins on the back of the 67. The 63 on top here has the oversized margin up top. It's amazing something as small as margins can dock a note in grade that much. But that's really one of the telling things of what grades you're going to get on an uncirculated note. Obviously there are other factors, but if you look at your margins on the back and on the front, on the reverse and obverse, you can actually measure them yourself because that's what they do. You can kind of guess your grade in a sense. It is kind of objective, but at least you can get close. Most new currency, if I could get it in my hand and feel it a little bit and then look at margins and everything, I can tell you, oh, that's a 66, that's a 67. If you hold enough of this and you work with enough of it, you can become pretty decent with the grading. The large size notes are different, but anyway, I've rambled on long enough here. Hopefully I've taught you something on these, and some people are totally opposed to grading notes, coins, anything like that. But I don't know, I always thought if you can afford it and it can add value to the note, or it can help you, keep something looking good in your collection, it's something worth doing. And for me, could I afford to do this? I mean, yes, at the time, definitely I could afford to do it. Did it add value to these notes? Not really, not a whole lot. But, I like to consider myself specialized with fancy serial numbers and everything. And these were never going to leave my collection. So that's one of the reasons that I did get them graded. It's just something fun, something different to do. But anyway, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and everybody stay healthy and safe. See you next time.